Will the 2019 Town Caucus please come to order? Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 53, Section 118, as Town Clerk, I shall preside until a chair is elected by the caucus. I now declare the meeting open for nominations for Chair of the Caucus. Yes? Eric Van Loon is nominated. Is there a second? A nomination has been made and seconded. Do I hear any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, there is a motion to close the nominations. Is there a second? All those in favor of closing the nominations, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion carries to close the nominations. All those in favor of Eric Van Loon as chair of this caucus, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. I declare that Eric Van Loon has been elected to serve as chair of this caucus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for that overwhelming vote of support. I do want to affirm that my campaign accepted no PAC contributions whatsoever in this election. Before we get to the fun part, there's three quick administrative things. First, I have examined the return of the notice of the meeting, and we're in compliance with state law. Second, I declare we do have a quorum present. And third, we have another quick election. That is, we need to elect a clerk for this caucus. And there's a rumor that Ruth Lauer of 100 Kais Road is willing to serve in that capacity. Is there a nomination? A second. Are there others running for this hotly contested office? All those in favor of Ruth? Aye. Opposed? Ms. Lauer, thank you so much, and if you will come and join us. So tonight, the business of the caucus is to nominate candidates for a list of public offices. Those who receive the endorsement, the nomination from the caucus, their names will automatically appear on our ballot. We're going to look for one moderator for a one-year term, two select board members for three-year terms, two school committee members for three-year terms, one housing authority member for 5 years, a full 5-year term, and one housing authority person for to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. So the procedure for tonight's caucus is laid out in state law. If more than one person is nominated for any office, then the two people who have the highest number of votes will be declared nominated for the office by this caucus, and their names will go on the ballot. Now, for many years, we've had a tradition here in Concord of adopting the following motion at the caucus. It shall be the rule of this caucus that if the number of people nominated as candidates for an office does not exceed double the number of persons to be elected, then the chair will declare those persons to be the nominees of the caucus without the need for additional voting, unless there's a request from someone in the present voter to have an actual vote. So is there a maker for this motion? Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The rule is adopted. Thank you. So we're going to receive nominations in the order that I raised them, listed them before. Each time I'm going to ask the nominators to come forward. If there's more than one nominator for a given office, they'll pick from this beautiful box the order of their presentation, and the nominators will write on this board the name and the address of the person they're nominating, and then we'll hear from the nominator and a second. There needs to be a second. There can be, but need not be, a seconding speech. So I declare the floor open for nominations for town moderator for a one-year term. I see a nomination over there. Is there another one? Come on forward. Please, Mr. Ring. Well, if there's not, you don't get to draw from the box. And but if you'd write the name, please, and address of your candidate. And would you state your name and address, please, sir?
Yes, my name is Stephen Ng, and I reside at 12 Dalton Road. I'm here this evening to nominate Carmen Reese for town moderator. A Concordian for over 3 decades, Ms. Reese has an extensive history of service to the town, serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Select Board, and more recently as our town moderator. I've had the pleasure of working with Ms. Reese during our overlapping years on both the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Select Board as Select Board members, and have always found her leadership to be inclusive, collaborative, open to public participation, while always keeping the best interests of Concord at heart. It is this sense of balance and fairness for our fellow Concordians that I nominate Ms. Reese to be our town moderator. It is with her guidance that our legislative body can truly learn the meaning and the full potential of quam firma res concordia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. And is there a second for his nomination? And if you'd state your name and address.
Okay. I'm Sig Roos, 36 Wood Street, and it is my honor and privilege to second the nomination of Carmen Reese for the position of town moderator. During Carmen's first 2 terms as a moderator, she has served with tremendous skill and dedication. As we all know, and as you just heard, she brings to this position many years of relevant professional training and experience. She has been tireless and effective in the position. The town meetings she has chaired have been orderly, always productive, and for some of us, enjoyable. Carmen works hard in the months leading up to town meeting to ensure that the meeting goes well, and later after the meeting, works to ensure that future meetings are even better. On a personal note, I've been a litigant before Carmen Reese, and I was a sponsor of a warrant. We could not ask for a more dedicated and skilled moderator, and I hope you will join me in supporting her candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other candidates for town moderator? If not, under the rule that we adopted just a few minutes ago, I declare Carmen Reese the nominee of the caucus. If you would please stand and wave so folks can, thank you. Congratulations. The floor is now open for nominees for the position of Select Board member. Recognize Elise. Yes, if you. I'm assuming that there are other nominations for Select Board? Other nominators? Okay, come on forward, please. Paul? Yeah? And others? Tom? Okay. Well, in that case, don't look. Ladies first. Who's number 1? All right, you're in the right place. And number 2, thank you. And number 3. Okay. Why don't you just stay up here? All right. I've been to a number of caucuses, and I just want to attest, this is the neatest handwriting so far that I've ever seen. Elise, if you would come forward and say your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Elise Woodward. I live at 379 Garfield Road. And tonight I have the honor to nominate Susan Bates as a candidate for a position on the Select Board. Susan has a stellar record of devotion and service to Concord. In particular, her tenure on the Finance Committee from 2002 to 2009 heightened her understanding of the myriad details of town finances and the importance of fiscal planning to maintain the town's beneficial AAA bond rating. More recently, as a member and chair of the Personnel Board, Susan supported policies to assure competitive pay for town employees and fair hiring practices. Susan thinks for herself. She is fair and impartial. Her ability to make decisions with clear rationale will be an asset to the Select Board, as will her track record of working tirelessly and collaboratively with diverse groups. Susan understands the budgetary tensions Concord faces, as well as the need to preserve our town's unique characteristics while preparing for changes that are inevitable in a vibrant town. She is committed to good governance and clear civil communication. I plan to vote for Susan in the town election on March 26th and urge you to join me in supporting her candidacy.
Thank you very much. And is there a second for Susan Bates?
My name is Jeff Campbell. I live at 253 Musketequid Road. I'm delighted to second the nomination of Susan Bates for the position of the Select Board, as a candidate for the Select Board. I've known Susan for almost 25 years, and I'm aware of all the contributions she's made that were just reviewed. I have the utmost respect for her skills and her experience and her devotion to this community and to its well-being. She has all the qualities we need in our elected officials and in the leadership of this town, and she will make a wonderful addition to the Select Board. And so I'm delighted to second her nomination.
Thank you. Number 2, I believe, was Mr. Tarpey.
Can I just put HBR instead of Heathsbridge Road? Allowed. Good evening, I'm Tom Tarpey. I live at 169 Heathsbridge Road. 8 weeks from tomorrow, on March 26th, we will have our next town-wide election. Among other races and issues, we'll be casting our ballots to fill 2 seats on the Select Board. This will not be pro forma. It seems we will have the good fortune to have 3 highly qualified candidates running to fill those 2 seats. Because each of these candidates has a unique personal perspective on town government, this election cycle will, hopefully, be enriched by a well-informed discussion of the challenges the town will face over the next 10 years and how we will prepare ourselves to meet them. I'm happy to nominate Terry Ackerman as a candidate for the Select Board. I've known Terry as a neighbor in Canantum and as a fellow member of the Finance Committee where we've overlapped for 3 years. Her good humor, thorough analysis, and incisive questions on every issue coming before the FinCom were the ideal for FinCom participation. She has also served the town well in her role as a member of the Community Preservation Committee, of which she has been chair this last year. I recommend strongly that you all visit her website, her campaign's website, found at ackermanforselectboard.com, and read her resume to see the depth of experience she has had in municipal government, her professional experience in municipal government in Massachusetts. Once having done so, I believe you will agree that Terry Ackerman possesses the mixture of clear, innovative thinking and experience in town government that will make her an exemplary member of our Select Board. It is a pleasure to nominate her as candidate for the Select Board, and I urge you all to join me in electing Terry Ackerman.
Thank you. And I believe a seconder is approaching.
Cynthia Rainey, Hunters Ridge Road. I second the nomination of Terry Ackerman for the Concord Select Board. I want to emphasize one of her great qualities. She will hit the ground running. This sounds trite, but for anyone who has volunteered or been elected to a board or committee in town, there can be a steep learning curve. Understanding state and local municipal process and policy is critical to performing your duties effectively. Understanding open meeting law and why it is there to include the public, not to constrain the work of the board, is very important. Understanding how the Select Board works with other boards and committees in Concord is critical. Finally, Terry understands how the town manager and Select Board work with the finance director and the finance committee, which is so important in maintaining a sustainable town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a third nominator. Paul, if you'd write and then say your name and address.
It's a pleasure to nominate Tom McCain for the Board of Selectmen. Tom and I have known each other for, I don't know, 70, 80 years, maybe something like that. We have served on the Concord Democratic Committee since about as long as there's been a Democratic Party. We were chairs back to back, and we've done a lot together. In a 3-minute talk, you can only make one point. I'm going to try to make two. Concord is facing, as we all know, a time of transition. In fact, a good many of us, myself included, can't remember a time when Chris Whalen wasn't the town manager. In fact, I wonder whether Chris could remember a time when Chris Whalen wasn't the town manager. In any event, Tom, as chair of the board, was very much involved with the critical process of designing the process by which a selection committee was appointed. The selection committee, a search committee rather, a search committee in a process of this kind is absolutely critical, as I know from having served on one. It's kind of like, did I do that? It's kind of like jury selection.
Can I ask you to come closer, because there are folks who can't on television.
And we're also not recording. Okay, maybe if I do it this way. As I understand it, Tom would know better than I, jury selection is kind of critical. The selection of a search committee is also critical. Tom was very much involved in that as the chair, and the notion of having that continuity, the ability to continue to be involved with the process and to inform the process with his prior experience and so forth is going to be invaluable. The second point I would want to make in my 3 minutes of fame is that if Tom is reelected, he will be the only attorney on the select board. That may or may not seem critical to you, and I don't know that it's critical, but it is really important on a board that people represent different professions. That's why you have boards. Otherwise, you just have a single individual. You have different people. It's not just that they're different, but they have different professional backgrounds. And a legal background, more than the detailed knowledge of the law and how the law applies in particular cases, anybody can sort of, if you can't do that, you can go find an attorney who can help you with that. It's the habits of mind that you develop in law school and in practice, and Tom has been in practice for a while, really do inform the debate in a way that other professions do not. So I think it's absolutely critical. Look, we have 3 really well-qualified candidates. The other 2 are perfectly fine candidates. But Tom does stand out in my mind as being the only person who would bring continuity and this diversity of background to the job. Thanks.
Before you leave, Paul, for the record, would you please state your
Oh, I'm
address?
sorry. I'm Paul Horwitz, 173 Hayward Mill Road. I always forget that. Thank you.
Forget where you live?
No.
I see there's a seconder.
Paul, you're a very hard act to follow. My name is Ann Umphrey, and I live at 468 Old Bedford Road. It really is a great honor to second the nomination of Tom McCain. As chairman of the Concord Dog Park Feasibility Study Committee, which was appointed by the Select Board for a one-year project, I worked with Tom, who was liaison from the Select Board. I found him to be helpful, thoughtful, able to give valuable suggestions because he knows the government process inside and out, and the workings and charges of each board and committee. His strengths are he's a facilitator. He's communicated and brought various town departments together to work on problems and come to the very best alternatives for the benefit of the town. He has a good way with citizenry. He's approachable, always open and available to all. And he listens respectfully to people's issues and concerns and is an excellent problem solver. Among the more serious issues of cell towers in Concord Center and the importance of funding a school resource officer, there were such items as when a citizen brought attention to bricks on this in the town center on the sidewalks that were uneven and could cause somebody to trip. Tom brought this to the attention of the appropriate persons and got it fixed. And those when the town citizen noted the new businesses in town had not put their street numbers on the stores, a safety requirement, Tom contacted the town manager to see that this was taken care of. So he's excellent working at the big issues and the small issues. So I hope you will join me in supporting Tom McCain for the Select Board.
Thank you very much, Ann. So under the rule that we adopted earlier, there are 2 slots open. Double that is 4. We have only 3 nominees. So all 3 candidates will go forward on the ballot as nominees of this caucus. I'd like to ask them separately and individually to stand so folks can see them. Susan Bates. Terry Ackerman, yes. There we go. And Tom McCain. Congratulations to you all, and thank you. The floor is now open for nominees for school committee members. Again, there are 2 openings, and if you're planning to nominate someone, could I see your hand, or could you come forward? All who are going to make a nomination. Well, in that case, you still have to. Terrific. Please, yeah.
I used to be a teacher, but my handwriting's not really bad, so no.
Uh-oh. I've learned a very important lesson here tonight, that if you have really smart people, good organized speakers, you do not need to have a bell or a time limit for things to move along in a very smooth fashion. So special thanks to all the speakers, at least so far.
No pressure, right? Good evening, I'm Lisa Bergen. I live on Oak Hill Circle, and I am here to nominate Cynthia Rainey of Hunters Ridge Road for school committee. Cynthia's 2 children attended Concord schools, starting at Willard and graduating from CCHS in 2016 and 2018. During that time, Cynthia has been a tireless supporter of her children's schools, always helping with school activities, parent activities, and sport activities. In addition to her commitment to the school community, she is also an involved member of our town community. Cynthia is in her 5th year on the Board of Assessors and is a member of the Concord-Carlisle League of Women Voters, where she served as president from 2014 to 2016. Seemingly tireless, Cynthia is also a frequent attendee at school committee, FinCom, select board, and other town committee meetings, through which she has developed a deep and broad understanding of how the issues raised affect both our schools and our town. Cynthia will be an outstanding school committee member because she is knowledgeable, energetic, and passionate about our schools and our community. Thank you.
And is there a seconder?
Janet Rothrock, 618 Nurse Neck Hill Road. I'm delighted to second Cynthia's nomination for school committee. In addition to serving on as the League of Women Voters of Concord-Carlisle president, she's also coordinated a good part of its online presence and has a terrific grasp of detail, as well as an appreciation for the Concord Public Schools, their mission, and what they did for her children, what they do for all our children, and a desire to maintain the quality of the schools and to continue improving them. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll come forward and write the name of the candidate and an address.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Tim Holt, and I have lived in Concord for the last 2.5 years after living in Carlisle for 35 years. Now,
Address?
Pardon me?
Address, too, please.
Address? My address is 20 South Meadow Ridge in Concord. I rise tonight with the distinct pleasure and honor of nominating my friend and neighbor, Yuval Ehrlich, for a position on the school committee. I've gotten to know Yuval. Yuval has lived in Concord for the last 6 years, and I've got to know him over the last 2.5 years as we work together in our association where we live. Yuval moved to Concord, as I said, 6 years ago with his wife Tamara and their 2 twin boys, and they've followed them through the school system, through Willard, Sanborn, and now the boys are freshmen at Concord Carlisle High School. Yuval, throughout that, has been involved with their education, serving on the School Advisory Council in both the middle school and now on the high school. I feel that Yuval has an extraordinary possibility for great success on the school committee. I served as a selectman in Carlisle for 12 years and on a school committee in Carlisle for 6 years, and I was on the building committee for the high school. In those capacities, I had the pleasure to work with many outstanding school committee people and observe the qualities and nature that makes one successful in that position. I would very quickly highlight 3 of those. Number 1, you have to have a passion for education, because we fortunately enjoy in Concord some of the best schools in the state and are constantly challenged to provide the best possible education. So in serving in that, you have to have a passion for education and where it's going. And I think Yuval has that, obviously, in his work with the school advisory councils, and a 30-year record, actually, in supporting numerous programs in education. He also served on the board of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra and started the chess club, actually, here in Concord. So he's displayed an extraordinary support for education and love for the educational process. The second thing is really administrative ability. The school committee, you work through the superintendent to achieve things, so it requires an executive level ability to bring a group of people together to give good guidance to a professional staff, and I think Yuval has some unique capabilities to do that. He was an outstanding corporate litigator and ran as a CEO a global company that does security solutions for organizations. In that capacity, I think, and in my observation in working with him, he has the administrative ability which is necessary in a school board to bring a diverse group of opinions to a conclusion and move the school forward. So I think that's a great ability. And finally, the third thing I think that's absolutely critical in my experience in a school committee is to have good communication with a broad range of parents so that you can bring input and viewpoint back to the administration. It's absolutely critical. And in my 2.5 years with Yuval, I think he has extraordinary ability to connect with people, to listen, to understand what they're saying, and the ability to synthesize that and bring it back to the superintendent. So for those reasons, I believe that Yuval has the potential to be an outstanding school committee member, and I would encourage you all to get to know him and talk about the schools with him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there a seconder? Again, if you give us your name and address, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dave Eaton at 181 Everett Street. I have never been in this room, and this is an honor. Having lived here over 10 years, proud to be a Concordian now. I would like to second Yuval for a couple reasons underscoring what was just said. One is having 4 kids going through the CC school system from Alcott to Sanborn and now at CCHS with 2 graduates. I've watched the educational program get stronger, the schools be more usable and strong for our kids to go through. And the security and risk piece is not a small point. Sending your kids off to school every day is concerning, and yet quite optimistic when I think about Mike Mastrullo and how he runs the high school all the way down to Sharon at Alcott. So having Yuval's background and experience in global risk and security was one thing. But I also, for my own work, I do organizational culture change and specifically diversity and inclusion work. And I think it's an awesome thing when we have diversity of thought, background, and experience at any open forum like you described. And Yuval brings a beautiful, diverse perspective that is not found in a homogeneous setting. So I celebrate that diversity. Shalom, thank you. I endorse him.
Thank you very much. And could I ask Cynthia Rainey to stand? And Yuval? You are both declared the nominees of this caucus. And now we will entertain nominations for Housing Authority member for a full year of a full 5-year term. Is there a nominator? I see there is.
Hello, my name is Mary Johnson I'm at 247 Losbrook Road, and I'm here and so pleased to nominate Ned Larner for a second term on the Housing Authority. This is a 5-year term. Ned has taken his role on the Housing Authority very seriously. He's been a strong voice and a valuable member. He really has kept himself aware of what's going on at the local and the state level, and that's quite an accomplishment in housing. I believe that he will do an excellent job. I think he's a very strong candidate, and the Housing Authority is very near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there a seconder? You can see the quality of handwriting dropped dramatically that last time.
I'm Vince Carlson, 34 Everett Street, and I'm pleased to second Ed Larner's nomination for second term on the Concord Housing Authority Board. This is a very hard-working board. They have a very heavy-duty workload that's dictated by the governing state agency. And in addition, Ed has taken on the responsibility to engage with the residents and listen to their problems and sometimes to their life history. This can be a long process in some cases here, and Ed usually does it with a smile, not all the time, but usually.
Thank you very much. Seeing that there are no other nominees for this 5-year term on the Housing Authority, I declare Ned to be the nominee of this caucus, and could you stand up, please, for us to thank you for your... And in many instances, as in this one, we're thanking for past service as well as future and running again. The floor is now open for nominee for Concord Housing Authority for filling a vacancy, a 3-year term. Is there a nomination, a nominator? Yes.
Good evening, Yuval Ehrlich for South Meadow Ridge, Concord. I am here to nominate Fatima Mezdad for her position on the Housing Authority. Fatima and I met 2.5 years ago on the two opposite sides of a very heated discussion in front of school committee. We didn't agree on anything, and we became very, very good friends. And Fatima earned her BA in Education and Languages from her university in Algiers before moving to the United States in 1995, earning her master's degree from American University. She moved to Concord 3 years ago. In the last 2 years, she's a tenant in one of the Housing Authority facilities. She is a mother to 2 sons, one in the middle school, one in the high school, actually a freshman in high school, with my kids. And in the last 2 or 3 months, I think, that she is an interim on the Housing Authority committee. I think that Fatima brings not only lots of energy and extreme passion to community values, but more than anything, she represents, more than most of us, diversity that is extremely important in such a position. I would encourage you to vote for her.
Thank you very much. And is there a seconder? Clark?
Court Booth, 144 Wright Road. It's my pleasure to second the nomination for Fatima Mezdad. She brings a commitment to public service. She's one of the newer residents among the candidates tonight, but one who's already demonstrated that she has the qualifications. She stepped up and is serving now. Her commitment to protecting the assets that Concord has with the Housing Authority is real and genuine, and I'm grateful that you're ready to serve, and I urge your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And could I ask you to stand then, please, to accept the nomination of this caucus? Before we adjourn, 3 important dates and an announcement. First, if you've been thinking, oh boy, I let this opportunity slip away, I want to run for office this time, and especially if it's those of you at home, you still have an opportunity. Nominations remain open for 1 week and 1 day until next Tuesday, February 5 at 5 p.m. You need to get signatures of 50 registered voters. Our town clerk has forms at the town clerk's office and here tonight. So February 5th, if you decide you'd like to run for one of these offices. Second, St. Patrick's Day, Sunday, March 17, the League of Women Voters is holding a forum at which all of the candidates for all of the offices will be present and will speak. And there'll be an opportunity for not only to hear their presentations, but to ask them questions and to see how they respond side by side. So again, Sunday, March the 17th at 2 p.m. at Harvey Wheeler at the Community Center. And third, as was mentioned earlier, 10 days after that, on Tuesday, March 26th, is our town election date. It will not be a presidential primary. It will not be, something that brings out gigantic numbers of voters and is on all the newscasts. So if you'd sort of make a mental note, put it on your calendar, and please do come out and vote. Last, all of you who have been nominated this evening have the opportunity to receive a beautiful green gift. These are the state finance laws, but also, and equally importantly, you'll need to come forward and sign acceptance of your nomination so that you can go on the ballot and affirm that you, in writing, that you're accepting tonight. So with that said, is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? All those opposed can stay as long as you'd like. Good night and thank you.